Hey guys, what's up? It's Lainey, and today I'm giving you guys a spoilery book talk on The Darkest Magic by Morgan Rhodes. This is the second book in the A Book of Spirit and Thieves trilogy. This series is the prequel trilogy to the Fallen Kingdom series, which is my favorite series of all time. This series kind of explores the myths of what we've learned in the Fallen Kingdom series. The first book is A Book of Spirit and Thieves, and I do have a non-spoiler book review for this book. I'll link it down below that you guys could check out. This book talk will have spoilers for the entirety of the second book, so if you haven't read the second book completely, you might want to leave and then come back later. First, I'll go through with my overall thoughts. Going into this book, I've already read A Book of Spirit and Thieves twice, but there were some things I was forgetting, and what I really liked about the beginning of this book was that Morgan is able to give you a summary of kind of the key events that happened in the previous book without making you feel like you're reading a summary, so everything was really coming back to me really well. I felt like I was more invested into the second half of the novel than I was in the first. While I really love the Toronto storyline, where 3 of the main characters are in primarily throughout the entire book, I wasn't super invested in the Mythica Maddox storyline in the very beginning. I just wasn't as excited to read those perspectives until later when the whole group hooked up with Leanna. And then I was like really invested in that storyline, especially when Becca ended up coming back to Mythica. I was really invested in that as well, and I have so many things to say about that, but I'll get into that in a second. I also felt like the second half of the novel was a lot stronger in the sense of revealing different things. Also, the character development I thought was a lot stronger in the second half, and there's a lot more things that hit me in my heart in the second half than in the first half. So that's why I rated the book a 4 out of 5. I'm just going to jump right into the characters because the characters are my favorite part of this book, and they just totally hit you, and I just feel for all of them. They're all very near and dear to me in some special way. First, I'm going to start with Crystal, because Crystal is like, I feel like she's us. She's us in every one of these kind of stories because she's so incredibly, absolutely human, and that's what I love about her character. All 3 of the other main characters, Farrell, Maddox, and Becca, all have magical abilities. They have magic within them, and Crystal is the only character here in pretty much the entire book that is human. And I think that's why she's my favorite character of all of the characters. It's just, I feel for her. I do have a passage, a quote that Farrell says that totally just like brings that all together. It's towards the end when they're at Marcus's mansion, and Farrell says to her, "Of all the people joining in today's little field trip, you're the only one who doesn't need to be involved." And also that's followed later, the next page, with Crystal thinking it was only more proof of what had been bothering her all her life, that she wasn't important, wasn't necessary, wasn't special. That whole passage just totally encompasses her character, but she's so much stronger than just being like kind of like a useless human. What her character really reminds me of, and if you guys have seen Buffy, you'll know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't, you should watch it because it's the best show ever. Xander and Dawn, they're 2 characters on the show, and they're both human, while everybody else around them is, you know, a vampire, the Slayer is a witch, or all these other people that have some type of ability that makes them more than human. And Xander, mostly because he's been from the beginning, he's human, while all his friends around him are becoming stronger and becoming I don't want to say better, but just enhanced. He always remains human throughout the entire series, and he's like the heart of the group. And I feel like that's kind of, even if A Book of Spirit and Thieves people aren't a group like that, I still feel like Crystal's the heart of the book, just because everything she's doing, you know, like Farrell said, like she doesn't need to do any of this, but she's doing it anyway to save her sister, to expose the people that are wrongdoing everybody else, and I really admire that about her character. Next, I'm going to talk about homeboy Farrell, because I have loved Farrell since the beginning. He's so morally gray, and it's so apparent in this book, and I just absolutely love him for that. When I first started this book, I was actually talking to Kenya, and we were messaging each other about the series, and I mentioned that I hoped that Farrell would have more of a villainous storyline, like his perspective is kind of the villainous one of all of the groups. And I definitely felt like that was true, and I do have another page number that I wanted to mention real quick. This is when Damon was telling Farrell to confess how he killed Crystal's father, and when Damon told Farrell to tell Crystal how he felt about it, the first thing that Farrell says is incredible. powerful, worthy. And then he goes to kind of the negative parts of killing someone, which was terrible, guilty, horrified. But the fact that he says incredible, powerful, and worthy, that's the first thing he thinks of and says truthfully, I think that says a lot about his character. And I liked that he said that first instead of feeling guilty about killing Crystal's father, just because that's unlike a lot of characters. I feel like if there was a feral character in other books, YA fantasies, whatever, they would feel guilty about it first. And the fact that Feral doesn't makes me like him more as a character. It gives him more layers and depth. So now Feral is this blood vessel for Marcus, and this kind of makes me nervous because what does this exactly mean? Because I'm automatically thinking this means that Marcus is going to possess Feral, and Feral's no longer going to be Feral anymore. He's going to be Marcus in Feral's body, and I'm scared for that because I really obviously like Feral. This also means that Feral, right now at least, he's like, has more magical abilities now, so his characters, I don't know what's gonna happen in the next book. I'm like kind of scared. Since I already talked about Crystal, I kind of want to talk about them together because I really low-key ship them a lot, and they're what I like to call a doomed ship. So they really shouldn't be together, they can't be together, but I still want them to be together even though I don't want them to be together. Does that make sense? They're just like, they're a ship that is like literally doomed from the start, and they've been doomed since the first book. I think that's why I like them so much. You know, simply the fact that Feral has killed Crystal's father, I mean, just pretty much says you can never be together. But I can't help it. There's feelings inside me that really like them. I like that. I can't help it. Their whole aesthetic is just so much complication. So I have theories that I'll talk about at the end. Next character is Maddox, who my favorite part of this whole book was when Maddox went crazy and he killed all of Valoria's army. He killed Gore without, like, it was like not even like a second thought. He just thought it and did it, and he just finally followed through with something. And that's what I really liked about what happened with Maddox's storyline. I was really happy that his character went there and did that. He stopped kind of walking that straight and narrow, and it makes me really excited to see what's going to happen to him in the next book, because he still had like the black eyes in the very final scene. So are they permanent? Will they go away after like what happened kind of wears off? I'm just really excited for his character now. I've never been this excited about Maddox's character before. I've always liked him, but I didn't feel like he did anything extraordinary to make me like him a lot, and now he's finally done it. He had to do something completely evil for me to connect and love him. It also makes me think that kind of since he kind of took his magic to the point of no return, he finally crossed that threshold that Barnabas and Cleona kind of were hoping that he wouldn't take, but he did it. And does that make him like maybe he'll be a villain in the next book because he's like becoming the new Damon-ish? But also, will his magic be what it takes to overthrow Damon in the final book? I mean, it's just there's so many questions, so many possibilities that this book could go down in the third book, and that's what I like. I like thinking of so many different possibilities. Also with Becca, I really want to know what kind of magic she'll have. I know she technically died, but she could either be an immortal or have magic. I mean, from what Damon was kind of telling her in the theater. But he also said that she's too young to know what her magic will be, so maybe she will become immortal. I don't know. It's just, there's so many things. I also feel like because she died and she was brought back to life, and she was the first kind of whole being that Maddox brought back to life, is there going to be ramifications for that in the next book? I'm just wondering if like being dead, even if it was for a short amount of time, if she was brought back to life, what that could mean for her. Like, will she be kind of changed? Like, we didn't really get to know too much about that because it happened at the very end of the book. I'm really interested to see if death will affect her character, and I really hope it does, because I really like that kind of storyline. I've seen it a lot in TV shows, specifically Buffy, so I'm excited to kind of see how that affects Becca in the third book. He's not part of this group of point of views, but I really wanted to talk about Marcus and how my feelings changed for him in this book. I really liked him as a villain. I really liked him in the first book. I thought he had this quality. I also thought he was the Fire Kindred from the Fallen Kingdom series, but that's kind of changed after it's kind of revealed that Marcus was a Watcher. My feelings for him did like a complete 180 in a different kind of way. So what happened with me was that he was really vulnerable in this book, and I liked seeing that side of him. And then once Damon kind of showed up and kind of revealed to be the biggest bad of the series that it seems like he'll be, Marcus kind of seemed insignificant in that kind of sense. Suddenly he was afraid of Damon, and when your former villain is afraid of the new villain, I was really excited. I was actually sad when he sacrificed. I don't know if he really sacrificed himself based on theories with Farrell and the blood vessel, but when he sacrificed himself for Becca, I felt really sad that he, you know, died. But I really liked those flashbacks that Becca had with kind of filling in the blanks of what kind of happened between all the Watchers and how we're currently in the situation that the two goddesses are ruling, and what happened to Ava and Damon and all this stuff, and why did he get exiled? We still don't know. I want to know why. How did he take the dagger? How did he find it? I guess he stole it from Valoria, but there's just so many pieces of the puzzle that I really hope get filled in on the third book. Moving away from the characters, I want to talk about the myths, because in this book it was a lot is revealed that kind of changes the myths in the Fallen Kingdom series. Obviously, the myths between Valoria and Cleona and Eva have completely been brought into question. Towards the end, Cleona mentions how they feel like the final battle went down is not how it really went down. She said that she just touched the two kindreds and she didn't steal them. That's what the impression was kind of going under, that she didn't take them her and Valoria didn't take them violently like we've always been thought to believe, even from the Fallen Kingdoms myths. So it seems like it was almost accidental, and that just completely changes like everything. The fact that she just touched them and became, you know, the goddess is different than in the Fallen Kingdoms books, where all those characters have at some point touched one of the orbs, so, and they haven't turned into anything. So what, like, how there's like a 1,000-year gap of information that we're missing, and I want to know what it is. And then also the biggest thing is that Eva is still alive. So like, what does that mean? Like, does that mean that Valoria and Cleona are still going to kill Eva? Well, technically, I guess the story that Valoria and Cleona killed Eva is transcending down from this book to Fallen Kingdoms. So the Fallen Kingdoms people never knew that Eva was still alive. So what happened to her, because her powers went into Lucia. I'm just trying to put it all together. Even if the myths are changing around us with these two series, the coolest thing about this myth and this series is that we're getting the real story. We're actually watching the history happen, and then obviously I don't think our characters in Fallen Kingdoms will ever know truly what happened that we're witnessing. So I think that's really cool. I really like that kind of, we now know more than you do. In the bigger scheme of things, it's just kind of showing how much through history and everything, how stories change and how it molds into something differently. And I really like how we might, I mean, those characters will never know what truly happened, what we're reading right now, and I really like that feeling. Lastly, I gotta talk about thoughts for the next book. The first thing is it bad that I don't want this to be a happily ever after trilogy? Even though my favorite part of the series is the characters, I realize that what's happening and the worlds and the politics and the rules are bigger than the characters, so I just don't see them all living happily ever after. And surprisingly, if they all get split up in the end, I'm like okay with that, because there's just something about the way and the tone and the atmosphere of this book that it's written is that I feel like something bad's gonna happen in the end, and I feel like I'm excited to see what that is. One of my theories is that I really want Crystal to end up in Mythica. Maybe not permanently, but I want her to go to Mythica in the third book. So if the power of Marcus was transferred into Farrell, does that mean he still has some of that transporting magic that was put into Farrell? Because in that case, if that's true, I want Farrell and Crystal to go together to Mythica to try to go find Becca, or, you know, do whatever. But then Becca's a unique situation, because if she has magic in her, I really don't see her belonging to the Earth our Earth world. She kind of belongs in Mythica then, so that's like complicated. Like either way, like I guess I just don't know. It's just so much that could happen. I just don't know. So I really, really love this book. I love how things are like starting to fall into place, how things are like starting to make more sense, and how things are being revealed. I really love this series. I'm assuming that everybody who's watching this has also read all the Falling Kingdoms books, and I just really like how they're not connected, but at the same time they are. In like a broader sense. So that's my book talk on The Darkest Magic by Morgan Rhodes. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know down below what your theories are. Tell me what you thought about it. I really want to know. So hope you guys all have a really great day, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye!